Sam Altman just announced OpenAI is adding ads to ChatGPT.
OpenAI is right at the middle of this. This will affect all of us.
You'll see us do a lot more to make the free tier much better over time. I kind of think of ads as like a last resort for us for a business model.
OpenAI just walked straight into a firestorm, and users absolutely demolished them after ads started appearing in ChatGPT. A person poured his heart out about being suicidal, and ChatGPT replied with this ad. And to make it even worse, users are roasting the fact that half these ads aren't even relevant.
If you look at how much money the company is bleeding, what the general analysis has been is that at this rate, OpenAI will not last very long. They'll run out of cash very soon, even with all the investments that they're getting from other companies like Nvidia, Amazon, and Microsoft and whatnot in the tens of billions of dollars. There's competition encroaching on OpenAI. Once upon a time, they were the complete market dominant force in the AI landscape.
ChatGPT users were blindsided, and not in a good way. OpenAI, a company millions rely on for AI tools, suddenly started showing what many perceived as ads right in their conversations. We're not talking about subtle suggestions here and there. These were promotions for Target, Peloton, and other apps popping up completely out of context. Like when someone asked about Windows BitLocker or coding help. People were furious. Even paid subscribers who were promised an ad-free experience felt betrayed. The backlash spread like wildfire. This wasn't a quiet protest. It exploded across social media platforms, drawing attention from hundreds of thousands of users almost instantly. And the irony? OpenAI, a company that markets itself as empowering users, suddenly felt like it was trying to sell to them while they were working.
There are few who are despised as much as Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, who kickstarted the current RAM, SSD, CPU, GPU shortage and inflation after he bought up 40% of the world's RAM, basically, supply. Sam Altman is pretty much like single-handedly responsible for these chain of events.
The whole situation started quietly in late 2025. OpenAI began testing what they called pilot partner apps inside ChatGPT, integrating promotions into conversations. The idea, according to the company, was to enhance the user experience. But people saw it differently. To them, these weren't suggestions. They were ads interrupting their workflow. And it didn't matter if you were on the free tier or a paying customer. Even Plus and Pro users were caught in the crossfire. One viral X post by Benjamin DeCraker summed up the frustration, and it didn't take long for it to gain over 463,000 views. Suddenly, the complaints weren't just private gripes. They were a movement, a public outcry that forced OpenAI to act. Within days, the company disabled the feature, and executives scrambled to explain what went wrong as the internet was already having a field day.
But the problem being that OpenAI, burns through dozens of billions of dollars every year, and the cost of maintaining OpenAI's AI endeavors, empowering OpenAI, and building OpenAI only increases with every passing year.
Social media became the battlefield. Users flooded X, Reddit, and every other corner of the internet with complaints. People weren't just venting, they were threatening to unsubscribe from services they had paid $20 to $200 a month for. The backlash wasn't minor. It was described as a wildfire that spread rapidly, fueled by memes, sarcasm, and sharp critiques of OpenAI's decisions. Some posts highlighted the uncanny nature of AI, noting that these ads disrupted the user experience and made the platform feel less like a helpful assistant and more like a salesman. People felt personally betrayed. ChatGPT wasn't just a tool. It was something they relied on and trusted. And suddenly that trust felt broken.
And so many are happy to hear that Sam Altman and the OpenAI endeavor, it's in precarious waters because of just the sheer amount of money that company is bleeding, trying to set up AI data centers, as well as trying to power the AI data centers.
It didn't help that OpenAI's leadership, particularly Sam Altman, already had a complicated reputation. In tech circles, He's notorious for moves that shake the consumer electronics market, such as buying up massive amounts of RAM and SSD supply, which contributed to global shortages and price inflation. So when users saw OpenAI sneak ads into paid tiers, it didn't feel like a minor misstep. It felt like part of a larger pattern of corporate overreach and self-interest. For many, it reinforced the narrative that OpenAI prioritized growth and control over actual user benefit.
And OpenAI CEO Sam Altman is firing back hard. On February 4th, 2026, Anthropic announced its chatbot Claude will remain ad-free and unveiled its first Super Bowl campaign.
The viral nature of the backlash was staggering. Users shared screenshots of ad prompts in conversations, often with captions dripping in sarcasm, highlighting just how intrusive the feature felt. The psychological impact was clear. People felt manipulated. What was supposed to be an AI companion helping them solve problems suddenly became a vehicle for marketing. For a company that touts free access as a cornerstone of its mission, it was a harsh contradiction. Even discussions on paid enterprise-level usage couldn't escape scrutiny, with critics pointing out that the ad test undermined OpenAI's credibility and made the whole ecosystem seem less trustworthy.
But more and more companies are catching up and, getting close to surpassing OpenAI at the rate that they're going.
OpenAI tried to frame the backlash carefully. Mark Chen, the company's chief research officer, admitted they fell short, while a data lead argued the prompts weren't technically ads because there was no direct financial exchange. But to users, technicalities didn't matter. The perception was clear. OpenAI had crossed a line. Paid subscribers, who already invest in the platform, expecting a premium experience, felt particularly targeted. This perception is dangerous for any company, especially one with high cash burn and aggressive expansion plans. OpenAI isn't just competing in the AI space. They're hemorrhaging billions trying to build and maintain data centers, power AI systems, and expand services. Alienating users in the process is a costly mistake on multiple levels. By the time OpenAI disabled the feature, the damage was already done. Social media had turned into a giant megaphone for criticism. Memes mocking ChatGPT's ad integration went viral. Users shared their frustrations widely, some humorously comparing the experience to an uncanny AI trying too hard to act human, but failing. Others took a more serious tone, questioning whether OpenAI could really be trusted with the massive influence it wields over AI tools and consumer expectations. The backlash wasn't just about ads. It reflected deep frustration with the company's approach to growth, user experience, and control.
OpenAI's market dominance was significantly greater, and with passing months, all the way up to today, you can see how quickly OpenAI's dominance is diminishing, with Google's Gemini in particular catching up at a very rapid pace.
What we saw was more than just a technical misstep. It was a cultural and psychological failure. Users had grown accustomed to relying on ChatGPT, and OpenAI's actions shattered that trust, at least temporarily. Viral posts, tens of thousands of shares, and hundreds of thousands of views across X and Reddit showed the scale of the revolt. Paid subscribers felt particularly violated. Free users felt manipulated. And the internet collectively dunked on OpenAI. It was a moment that combined outrage, humor, and disbelief all wrapped into one massive social media phenomenon.
The artificial intelligence industry's rivalry just exploded onto America's biggest advertising stage. Anthropic is spending millions on Super Bowl commercials that directly mock OpenAI's decision to introduce ads into ChatGPT.
OpenAI's attempt to pilot app suggestions ended up becoming a cautionary tale. Even for a company as powerful as theirs, ignoring user sentiment, especially when it comes to paid services, comes with immediate consequences. The lesson is clear. Trust is earned slowly, but can be lost in an instant. And when it's lost, no amount of explanation or rationalization can quickly fix it. For OpenAI, this was a wake-up call, showing that the line between innovation and exploitation is thin, and crossing it can set off a storm they might not be ready to weather.
The commercials parody intrusive advertising in AI conversations. The ads clearly target OpenAI.
If you thought OpenAI's ad fiasco was wild, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The bigger picture is even messier, and it all starts with Sam Altman, the man at the helm of this chaotic AI ship. Altman has a history of moves that make tech enthusiasts clutch their wallets and mutter under their breath. Take, for example, his infamous purchase of roughly 40% of the world's RAM supply. 40%? That's not a typo. When he locked that down, it set off a chain reaction that gamers, PC builders, and electronics enthusiasts are still feeling today. CPUs, GPUs, SSDs, you name it, prices shot up, stock disappeared, and the whole consumer electronics market started spiraling. If you've ever wondered why building a gaming rig in the past couple of years felt like pulling teeth, now you know who to blame.
In January 2026, OpenAI announced plans to start testing ads in the US for free and ChatGPT Go tier users.
Like Claude is going hard and trying to win market dominance against OpenAI, a company who is, again, in an incredibly precarious financial position as a startup that is strictly focused on AI, but also has to rely on other companies to supply things like chips and, cloud computing and AI computing power.
And that's just the beginning. OpenAI isn't exactly sitting on a gold mine, it's more like a gold-plated money pit. They're burning through tens of billions every year just to keep the lights on. We're talking about massive AI data centers that guzzle electricity, water, and computing power, like a frat house during finals week. Every time they launch a new project, the costs skyrocket. GPUs from NVIDIA aren't cheap, cloud infrastructure isn't cheap, and powering AI that can think like humans? That's insanely expensive. Moore's Law, the old idea that computing power doubles every couple of years? Yeah, AI doesn't care. Right now, doubling AI performance costs about 5 times more than the previous upgrade, and that's if everything goes perfectly. There's no magic shortcut. No, just sprinkle some AI dust on it. It's a brutally expensive, resource-hungry machine.
The company will air a 60-second pre-game ad and a 30-second in-game ad, both featuring the tagline, "Ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude."
And as if the money hemorrhage wasn't bad enough, OpenAI's market dominance is slowly slipping. In the enterprise space, Anthropic's Claude has captured 40% of the market. OpenAI, down to 27%. Google Gemini is creeping up at 21%. The numbers don't lie. Once the untouchable king of AI, OpenAI, is now fighting for scraps while competitors move in aggressively. For a company burning billions and struggling to maintain tech superiority, desperation starts to creep in, and that desperation explains a lot, including the ill-fated ad tests that triggered the user revolt.
Ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude. So that's the core messaging that Claude has been running with, that ChatGPT's integration of ads sucks, but that's not happening with Claude.
Speaking of competitors, let's talk about Anthropic's Super Bowl roast. Claude didn't just quietly gain ground, they went full savage. Anthropic ran deadpan, hilariously creepy AI ads mocking ChatGPT's ad integration. Think ads like, find an emotional connection with other older women on golden encounters, or promote Tricep Boost Max insoles for short, kings who want 1 extra vertical inch. They nailed that uncanny valley vibe, just human enough to feel real, but weird enough to make you laugh out loud. And the internet ate it up. Millions of views later, users were openly cheering as OpenAI was publicly dunked on. It was brutal, funny, and completely viral.
Sam Altman responded on X with a lengthy post. First, the good part of the Anthropic ads. They're funny, and I laughed. But I wonder why Anthropic would go for something so clearly dishonest, he wrote. Our most important principle for ads says that we won't do exactly this. We would obviously never run ads in the way Anthropic depicts them.
Altman's response? Let's just say it didn't help. He went on a lengthy essay tweet explaining why OpenAI was morally superior, why ads were supposedly just enhancing UX, and why everyone should trust them. But here's the problem. Nobody asked for the lecture. People weren't laughing with him. They were laughing at him. His attempt to justify the ads and paint himself as altruistic backfired spectacularly. Instead of winning hearts, he fueled the meme machine, strengthened Anthropic's position, and handed competitors free PR points.
OpenAI said ads will appear at the bottom of answers when there's a relevant sponsored product based on the conversation, and will be clearly labeled and separated from organic answers.
OpenAI tried damage control, of course. Mark Chen and other executives clarified that these were pilot partner apps, not actual ads. They reassured paid tier subscribers, Plus, Pro, and Enterprise, that they would remain ad-free. They emphasized that the feature was limited to free users and that the idea was to improve UX. But the essay-length public defense? That looked desperate, overcomplicated, and frankly, out of touch with how humans respond to humor and critique. Users didn't see altruism. They saw corporate greed, and the optics were devastating. AI's benefits were overshadowed by a fiasco that could have been handled in a single sentence. We messed up. We turned it off immediately.
You'll find that a company known as Anthropic has 40% of the enterprise market share, while OpenAI's market share is falling significantly at 27%, and Google is catching up now with 21% of enterprise market share.
Meanwhile, the broader AI landscape isn't getting any easier for OpenAI. Claude, Google Gemini, and a growing roster of LLMs are nipping at their heels. In the enterprise, Anthropic leads with 40%, OpenAI has 27%, and Google is catching up at 21%. Add to that the lingering consumer electronics chaos Altman helped trigger, hardware shortages, price inflation, supply chain headaches, and OpenAI is climbing a very steep hill. Infrastructure costs alone are staggering. Building, powering, and maintaining AI now runs into hundreds of billions annually, and outputs aren't always reliable. Hallucinations, errors, and even art theft allegations all pile up, giving critics more ammunition.
On the consumer level, OpenAI still has more market share than the rest, but judging by the trend shown by this graph, that dominance may not last very long, given that they're losing market share every passing month.
At this point, it's survival of the fittest. Only companies that can execute flawlessly, manage these absurdly high costs, and maintain user trust will thrive. OpenAI has technology, name recognition, and an enormous user base, but every misstep from ads in ChatGPT to viral PR disasters chips away at its credibility. Users are paying attention now more than ever, scrutinizing every update, feature, and public statement. In a landscape where billions are on the line, every move matters.
And then it doesn't help that OpenAI, when it comes to PR and marketing, it's not been doing a particularly great job, especially with Anthropic recently encroaching with Super Bowl ads that completely dunked on OpenAI, and it made Sam Altman respond with this, basically an essay-long tweet that has only made matters look worse.
The public has spoken, and the verdict is brutal. Social media users are reveling in OpenAI getting roasted, sharing memes, screenshots, and snarky commentary about Sam Altman's essay-long justification and the intrusive ad prompts. Experts agree, responding to playful, humorous criticism with a lengthy essay is a textbook PR fail. It's a harsh reminder that perception often outweighs reality, especially in the fast-moving world of social media, where a single misstep can define a company's reputation overnight. In the long term, this backlash is more than just laughs and memes. It's a warning to the entire AI industry. Trust is fragile, and users are now watching OpenAI like hawks. Every intrusive feature, every overhyped promise chips away at credibility. Altman and OpenAI continue to burn billions annually while competing with tech giants like Google, which have the infrastructure and cash to move faster, scale better, and avoid these pitfalls. AI still has the potential to transform society, but the reality is messy. it can be unreliable, energy-intensive, and socially divisive if handled poorly. Users now demand tangible value. Ads, sloppy content, and overpromising can no longer go unnoticed. So where does OpenAI go from here? The market may consolidate, favoring companies that execute well, keep costs manageable, and deliver real benefits. OpenAI could recover, but the clock is ticking. Will they regain trust and market dominance, or is this the start of a slow decline? One thing's clear. OpenAI may have created the world's smartest AI, but when it comes to human PR skills, not so much. And that lesson is already being taught loud and clear, one viral meme at a time.